Welcome back, everyone. Michael here with Offshore Citizen. Today we're going to discuss the 280,000 euro Golden Visa investment option in Portugal. It is the cheapest way to get a Portuguese Golden Visa, and it's something that I haven't talked a lot about, but I wanted to kind of dive into some stuff that I think is pretty important and kind of give you some feedback about whether this should be the best option for you, who it's the best for, who it's not the best for, and go in from there. So before we dive into that, if you haven't already, please subscribe, click the subscription button, hit the notification bell. I really appreciate your support. Check out our videos. We try to produce great content every single day. And if you'd like help with residencies, citizenships, international tax planning, opening bank accounts, forming companies, etc., anything to do with internationally relocating or set up your company abroad and operating to optimize the world for you, please reach out to me. You can book a call, calendly.com/Michael-Rosmer, link in the description below, or check out our websites, offshorecitizen.net and offshorecapitalist.com. Okay, so just a quick little refresher. The Portuguese Golden Visa, which I think is a great program, one of the most attractive in the world, in my opinion, has basically three options. You can invest in bonds. I think it's a terrible option. It's a higher amount and bonds are terrible. Number two, you can invest in funds. I'm going to do a separate video on that because that's a little bit more tricky. Or you can invest in real estate. And depending on where and the type of property you invest in, you can invest in, if you're talking about Lisbon, Porto, at least for the moment, you can invest in kind of those desirable areas for 500,000 euros. If you go out to other areas, you can invest for 350,000 euros. And there's a third option, which is the lowest cost option at 280,000 euros, which is, there's kind of some technicalities around how it works, but you're kind of doing like a restoration, okay? So that's the one we're gonna focus on today. Now, I think, we can start off by just examining like why is this particular option appealing, which is obviously you tie up less capital, right? Almost half of what you would tie up if you're talking about the 500,000 euro option. So, for somebody who either A, has less money available, or B, is in a situation where even though they maybe have the money available, they're concerned about the time value of that money, the opportunity cost. This on the surface is an attractive thing to look into, okay? Now, here's the thing. This can't just be any property. So the other ones can be any property, right? 350,000, so long as it's in the right area. Any property, 500,000, so long as it's in the right area. It can be any property. This here is basically, there's some I'm not going to go into the details, but basically property has to get purchased and kind of like activated, renovated, restored. And so, that's why they're incentivizing this, okay? All right, fair enough. What becomes tricky about that is for most people, they can't do that themselves, okay? So theoretically, if you could do it yourself, go through the paperwork of getting the approvals and qualifying that investment, et cetera, then great. Maybe you'd want to do that. If you were a real estate developer somewhere else, maybe this is an attractive way to go for you, okay? But for most people, what you're probably going to do is you're going to buy into a project, okay? Now, usually these are hotel projects that you can buy into. So sometimes it's a Hilton, it's a Marriott, it's a Ramada, it's a whatever that they're building, and by basically contributing to that, you can invest. What are my thoughts on this? So I talked to, and I have some dealings with some of the companies that do this, and I'm always on like this mixed bag with it, okay? And the reason is, I think that it is a little bit disingenuous, these offers. And that's, I guess, partially why I wanted to talk to you about it and just kind of discuss, whether it applies to you or not. Here's the thing. So what they'll say is they're like, okay, you're investing 280,000 euros, and usually they have a buyout guarantee at the end of 5 years. So at the end of 5 years, they'll basically pay you back your 280,000 euros. They essentially got the money interest-free, and you got your Golden Visa during that period of time. Sounds relatively okay, right? Seems kind of attractive. So what's the downside? Well, the downside, of course, is if you were to put money, 350,000 euros into something, you'd probably earn some sort of a rate of return, right? Maybe like 5% or something. That's a pretty typical number that you could do in rental yield, okay? So you say, okay, great. Is it better to get the 350? Is it better to get the 280? Part of that is based on the time value of that extra 70,000 difference for you, right? So let's use an example of where it's clearly way better off to have done the 280. Let's say you were moving to Portugal in the spring of 2020, and you decided to take that extra 270,000 and you bought Bitcoin in May, right? I mean, So you basically like what, 10x or so the value of that 70,000 over that period of time. So, okay, 700,000, it was far, far better. Regardless of anything else, that 70,000 was much more useful to you than any of these alternatives. So clearly, that would have been the better decision. Now, let's be fair and honest, which is Bitcoin, or any investment for that matter, doesn't do 10x in most years, right? So this was somewhat of an anomaly, and it was somewhat of an unusual asset, right? So could you have picked that asset at that time? Probably not, right? That was, or at least, there's definitely a degree of luck in that. So you say, okay, well, hang on. If that's the case here, if I'm like, what is my reasonable expectation of return? And maybe you're really good, right? Maybe for some reason your business opportunity, maybe you can roll that into advertising. You're doing like Facebook ads, and you're getting a good ROAS or something like that, right? Okay, fair enough. Maybe you're in a situation where, hey, listen, you have some opportunity and you can flip the money, you can get 100% return, right? Okay, well, that's 70,000, has 70,000 value for you, right? The thing that I want to kind of emphasize here is that, in my opinion, you really, really, really need to be careful about whether you'll actually get that payout at the end, okay? So what I mean by this, and this is kind of what I tell people, because, for me, I have this thing where I don't want people to lose money, right? I would much rather not give you a good investment than to give you an investment that you end up losing money, even if it was, a possible upside, but you were gonna have this downside. I don't think it's good when people lose money. I don't like it. So as a result, I'd kind of rather somebody put their money into a solid 350 that maybe pays them 5% return than into something that gives them the extra opportunity value, but on the other hand, they end up losing out. And here's the way that I analyze these projects. When I look at them, I think, how are you going to pay that money back, right? Because what they're claiming, what the developer or whoever is claiming is, hey, you're going to put in this 280 with us, and 5 years later, we're going to give you 280 back. Now they're going to have a bunch of fees. They're going to have all these different things in there. So they don't really have 280 in value that they're putting into that project, right? Okay, fair enough. They have 5 years to make that back. But then at the end of 5 years, like, where's that money coming from? Are they going to leverage the property and borrow it in order to pay give you money from the bank? I mean, it's possible that would happen, right? But is everyone are they going to do that for all the units? How much loan to value can they actually get? Is the value of the property going to go up? Yeah, I mean, it's a reasonable possibility. Hopefully, if they're doing a good job, it will. So there's going to be some extra equity in there. How much? Uncertain. Will the value of the property have appreciated, or will it have gone down in that time? Uncertain, right? Hard to say for sure what's going to happen in that scenario. So what I always tell people is, I think if you're going to go into those deals, no problems. Like, great. I'm happy to help you with that. I'm happy to whatever. But, and maybe that time value of that money, like I gave the example here where it's worth 700,000 in a year, let alone 5 years, right? That could be, heck, in 5 years, it could be worth 700,000 much more easily, right? So then even if you were to lose that entire investment, it was probably worth it. But I think you need to go in with a realistic expectation, which is, hey, listen, they may not be able to buy me out. They say that they have this buyout guarantee. In reality, will they be able to do it? Hard to say. So I may be left holding my share of this project. And if you say, okay, great, I'm holding my share of this project, then the question is, what is that worth and what are you going to be able to get out of it for, right? That's uncertain. It's possible that then if you want to get the capital out, you're going to have to sell at a loss. So when you're doing that one, I think go in with the expectation that, hey, maybe, not necessarily, but maybe I will need to sell at a loss and that it will take me longer than I think. If you do that, I think it's a great option. Okay, you can do the Golden Visa that way, just like anything else, assuming that you have a good use of the extra money, right? If you go in thinking, hey, listen, the best case scenario is going to happen, I wouldn't recommend that. I would say, hey, listen, go with like the 350 or go with one of the other options that have a higher probability, in my view, of paying off in that regard. So anyway, that's the general idea. You can go and check out some of my other videos I've done on the Golden Visa program, explaining how it works, etc. It's a great program. Like, I think one of the top programs, certainly in the world right now. If you're interested in information about that, if you'd like help getting in, if you'd like help finding properties, etc., please reach out to me. Again, you can book a call, calendly.com/Michael-Rosmer, link in the description below, or send us a message through our websites, offshorecitizen.net or offshorecapitalist.com. And yeah, like the video if you like it. If you don't, please tell me why. Share it with your friends. And I'm going to look forward to seeing you guys on the next video.